So of course, we had to have Mitch come on to talk about the business behind the mega brand. How do you grow it? How do you make it profitable? Is there still space to create the next new mega brand and get all those insights? This is Amy Walker. I am your host and welcome to the CEO Spot. This is your place to be to get great insights from industry experts in how to grow your business and make that entrepreneurship journey a little bit more smooth. So today I'm talking with Mitch Russo, and he founded Time Corp, sold it for 8 figures, then ran Sage PLC as a COO, and later he became the CEO of Tony Robbins and Chet Holmes Business Breakthroughs International, which he then grew to 25 million per year. Then he wrote The Invisible Organization, and he now builds certification programs and associations while podcasting. So of course, we had to have Mitch come on to talk about the business behind the mega brand. How do you grow it? How do you make it profitable? Is there still space to create the next new mega brand and get all those insights? So Mitch, we're excited to have this conversation today.
Absolutely. Thrilled to be here, Amy. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's always fun when you come across somebody that's a genius in their field, in their sphere, and you get to pick their brains and see how it went. So I'd love to hear just a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey and how you got started down this really unique path.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's a long story. I don't think I can get it done in 10 minutes, but I'll give it a shot. It basically started growing up in Brooklyn, New York. As a young man, I started a rock band in high school. And honestly, Amy, the reason we started the band was because we were so socially inept. It was the only way we could pick up girls. So rock band was great for that. And it worked really, really well. But the interesting thing about building the rock band was that it actually taught me most of what I needed to know to go on and create businesses and grow them. So those were some powerful lessons early on in life. And later, as I evolved and refined my interests, I became very interested in electronics, and I dove deep into the world of electronics back in the 1960s, which is a long time ago. But where that led me was to create a software company, and had an idea for a software product, and lots of us do from time to time, but I was totally convinced that this was going to be such a big winner that I invested in it heavily along with my partner. And we built this company from scratch. When I say invested, I mean time.
Right. So, blood, sweat, and tears.
You got it. Time, money-wise, we each put $5,000 into the company, and we never invested again. That was the bulk of our investment money. And the thing about success in business, as we learned early on, is that, you know, your first great idea may not be your best or even the final great idea. Mm-hmm. And as a result for us, our first idea didn't pan out at all. In fact, the reason we built the software was eliminated days after we completed it. And we said, now what do we do? And we brainstormed and we brainstormed and we came up with something sort of tangential to what we had just built. And it turned out to be the blessing that we were hoping for. Our original product might have sold a few hundred copies. This product ended up, by the time I sold the company and earned my way out, it had already sold 250,000 copies of software.
Wow.
And it's still growing.
That's awesome. I love that thought that your first great idea may not be the best great idea and it may not be your last great idea, because I think sometimes I've struggled with this as an entrepreneur, with the evolution of business and feeling like I hold too long onto the first great idea. And I think that keeps us a little bit stuck and keeps us small.
You're right. And that's why I have always had a business coach / advisor consultant who I work with, because for me, it accelerated my progress way beyond what I could have done on my own.
I love that. Now, you've worked with some really big brands, ones that you've built your own, and ones that you have worked with, I mean, everybody knows Tony Robbins, right?
Sure.
So what is it that takes somebody from a talented individual or a great product or a great service and builds that mega brand that becomes the household name?
Well, when I did that with Timeslips back in the late 1980s, it was because of publicity. So we didn't have much money. In fact, we didn't have any money. And so the only thing that I could figure out how to do that was free was to show up at events and promote myself in the press. And so that's what I did. I just went crazy doing everything I could to get press releases out, to get review copies of our software into the hands of the right people. In fact, our very first employee was a PR intern. And she made all the calls and got all the interviews set up. And we find ourselves from time to time flying out to New York or Chicago for one-on-one sit-down interviews with some very big names. But the greatest break of all came after 10 days of 14 hours of wandering around the Comdex computer show. Every day, I stayed at a room that was 2 miles away from the convention center because it was cheap and that was all I could afford. And every day I walked to the convention center and then I walked the 10 million square feet that were there to try and put my software into the hands of people who might potentially help us grow the company. Well, I didn't realize it, but I had handed a copy to the product editor at InfoWorld magazine. And the reason I say I don't realize it is because I've handed so many copies out and I spoke to so many people, I didn't really remember. Well, about 6 weeks, 2 months after we got back, after I got back, I went alone, I got a call from a fact checker who said, look, we're going to be reviewing your software in InfoWorld. We just want to make sure we have your address right and your phone number and all that. Well, we were elated and terrified at the same time because InfoWorld could publish what something would be a lukewarm review of your product. As they say, that phrase, damning would faint praise. So if we got a mediocre to just good review, we might be out of business.
Right.
But if we got a great review, that can change the world for us. Well, we were on pins and needles. We didn't know when the review was coming out. We're literally every single day, we're looking to see if there's a way to find out by calling the magazine or whatever. There was no internet back then. So it turned out that one morning, the business was in my house. It was in the garage. And one morning I hear all of the phones ringing at once. We had 6 phone lines and 6 telephones sitting on a desk. And all of a sudden they were just ringing and ringing and ringing. And my sleep is still in my eyes. I go downstairs in my PJs and I start answering the phones. Every one of them is people placing orders for our software. And then after the 3rd or 4th order, I said, well, could I ask you a question? How did you find out about us? They said, oh, you don't know? I said, no. I said, you just got reviewed in InfoWorld. You just got a 9.3 in InfoWorld, which is the highest rating they've ever given any software at all. So we went from selling about 6 or 7 copies a week to 600 copies a week.
Wow.
All from
through
PR. That's right.
So how has the PR game changed since then? Because I know right now there's a lot of this pay-to-play PR where my clients will come to me, oh, I just got invited to be on this TV station. It's only going to cost me $500. I'm like, it's kind of it's not necessarily the type of PR that you're talking about. It's more that pay-to-play space. Is there still free PR available, and how should they be going about getting it?
Yes, absolutely. There's still free PR available. There's a website. The name of the website, I think, is Help a Reporter Out, or HARO. And, everyone should subscribe to that because every single day you get a little bulletin about what reporters are looking for. And I happened to notice recently that there was somebody looking to speak to a company founder in the software business. I said, sure, and I just picked up the phone and called these folks. And next thing I know, I'm being interviewed by the CEO of their company. So, and that didn't cost a penny. So
Mm-hmm.
there's still plenty of free PR available. And in many ways, the free PR can be better than the paid PR. So the people who are getting phone calls from those selling, 5-minute spots, I got to tell you, they're not going to work. They never do. I have never had one of those work, and I bought several of them just to
Mm-hmm.
see. So really focus, do the hard work, not the easy stuff. The easy stuff is to write a check. The
Mm-hmm.
hard stuff is to have one-on-one conversations with as many people in a leadership position in the PR space that you can.
Well, and I think I love Haro. I also think with new media, we've got to think a little bit broader, because you've got the bloggers, you've got the social influencers, you've got the YouTubers, you've got the online publications, and everybody's looking for great content. And so if you can be a great content creator, when I got published in Fast Company, we had 3,500 shares within first few hours. And I was sitting there going, I was never going to get that on my blog.
Right.
I've never hit those numbers on my blog. So if we look at media and we just think this really small channel of it's got to be TV or it's got to be local radio, we're missing the fact that there's never been more media and more places to promote than there are now.
Exactly. And it turns out that I've become a Forbes magazine featured writer. And
Mm-hmm.
so I have articles in Forbes regularly now. And, that didn't happen by accident. That didn't happen because Forbes found me and said, "Oh, Mitch, will you write for us?"
Right.
And you know this because Amy, I'm sure you did the work to become, featured in Fast Company. So the idea behind this is go and be in front of people, go out there and communicate. So, in my work, I work with CEOs and I work with business owners. And every so often someone says to me, what is your best advice? And of
Mm-hmm.
course, that's a very broad question and you don't know what it applies to, but something I've evolved over the years is a very simple statement. And it really comes down to what the purpose of the CEO is.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of funding and outside of idea generation, the CEO's job is to do two things: to create and to communicate. And if a great CEO is always creating and always communicating, the odds are that's going to be a successful business if they have a good product.
Mm-hmm.
And that applied back when I was building a rock band, and it applies now. It applied in every phase of my business life, and it will probably apply forever for me. So it's something I pass along to listeners.
Good. I appreciate that. That's good advice. Because I think you're right. The minute that the CEO gets stagnant and stale and gets too overwhelmed with the day-to-day is the minute that the company stops innovating and becoming creative and thinking outside the box. And then you become Blockbuster or Radio Shack and you're obsolete. So
That's right.
we got to keep
That's right.
innovating.
Exactly.
Let's talk a little bit about the book, The Invisible Organization. Do you want to share with us what that book is about?
I would be thrilled to. The Invisible Organization was my first book. My second book is being released today. So our timing is perfect.
Yay.
So my first book, Invisible Organization, which is basically the CEO's guide to building a incredible virtual company. And the book is a blueprint, just like my second book is a blueprint, but this is the blueprint that I used to build the Tony Robbins and Chet Holmes organization with those guys.
Mm-hmm.
So we had 300 plus people associated with the company in one form or another, and we didn't own a single asset. So we had no infrastructure whatsoever. Now, compare that to my days at Timeslips Corporation. We spent $300,000 on a phone system.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays you sign up for a virtual call center and it costs you $69 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's no comparison. And by the way, that's infinitely scalable compared to, and I told you about the $300,000 phone system. What I didn't tell you about was the $180,000 phone system before that and the $65,000 phone system before that.
Right.
So we ran through these products because we were growing so quickly, and everything that we had bought in the past was basically obsolete. With the new world of virtual services, which I cover in great detail in the Invisible Organization, you can do magic compared to what a brick and mortar company can do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And what's the new book? Now I'm curious.
Sure. Well, the new book is Power Tribes. And Power Tribes is my blueprint for creating powerful tribes around the term certification. So we, as a consulting firm, we build certification programs for our clients. And what I decided to do was give away all of my trade secrets in a $10 download book on Kindle. It's called Power Tribes. And if you go to powertribesbook.com, not only can you buy the book, but you'll get a free course and a chance to win a 3-day intensive with me. So all you got to do is get a copy of the book and read it, take the course and follow it. You'll have a lot of great upfront information. So if you show up for my mastermind, you're going to be able to get to work right away. And I would love to have you or anybody in your audience who feels like they qualify to please make a point of getting the book and attending.
I love that. And I'll give you a chance to give that web address here in just a second again, so they can make sure they write it down. This is your chance to get your pens ready, everyone. But there really is a movement behind these certification courses. And the wisdom in it that I see is it takes so long to lay out your processes. That's what gets most entrepreneurs hung up, is they struggle to balance marketing plus sales plus determining their methodology and their processes. And so they don't get traction. So if you have already well defined that methodology and those processes, then you can certify other people to go and do it so that they have an easier point of entry into entrepreneurship and into your field. I've got a client who's doing that right now with life coaching, and another one who's doing it right now with health coaching. And it's making me kind of think, maybe I should be doing this with my business coaching. So
Absolutely.
definitely a good path, and one that I've got my eye on. So do you want to go ahead and give them that web address again?
Sure. It's called simply powertribesbook.com.
Awesome. Simplypowertribesbook.com. Well, you know
Not
what
simply,
is,
just, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
It's powertribesbook.com.
Powertribesbook.com. We got it.
Okay.
And, I am actually really excited to be speaking with you because I've heard about the Invisible Organization many times. And it's been on one of those books that I've thought, I need to read that. I need to read that. I need to read that. And now that I've met you, I'm reading it. That is going to be my Kindle purchase for the day. So I'm excited to be able to dive into the original and into the new book as well. Thank you so much for Mitch for being on with us today and to share just your wealth of knowledge and information on what it's really going to take for us to grow and scale these businesses and build something that is bigger than ourselves. I think that's every entrepreneur's dream, is to build something that supersedes their own time and energy. But I also think it's where most entrepreneurs get stuck, is that they only build the company as far as they can personally work it. And so you've given us some great ideas and insights to study today. For all of our viewers, now my call to action for you is go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We produce new interviews every Tuesday and Thursday, plus business tips in between. So you're getting new content every single day. This is a great resource for you and your entrepreneurial journey. Also, please share the video out with other entrepreneurs that you know who are trying to go through this process of creating something that is bigger than themselves. And we appreciate your support. Mitch, thank you so much for your time and for your wealth of experience. I've really enjoyed having you on today.
Thank you so much, Amy.
Everyone, have a wonderful and powerful rest of your day. Thanks so much.